Here it is.
He's visualizing. Watch this now. Now look at this. I've never seen anything like this. And watch at the very end, this is a long one, he's looking right at the spot where he shot the puck. See that? I hear guys out there doing their sticks and everything. Isn't that something? Whatever he's doing right. Now look at you looking at that spot again. You got that spot down perfect. See that? He's getting ready to just snap that puck like that.
Bobby did this?
Bobby would be in the dressing room. He would not go out. Bobby would be in the afternoon at 2:30 in the afternoon, getting ready for a 7 o'clock game, just like he's getting ready, not quite as early. But Bobby would do the exact same thing. Now watch, it's that spot that he was looking. Watch that spot. Boom. And he had another great spot with it before. And see that spot? That's his spot visualizing.
I don't know if you use this practice or maybe you just do it, intuitively. But you've heard the studies. You've got a basketball team. You take half of them, you put them in a dark room, and you tell them just think about hitting baskets. The other half you take and you actually get them to practice for an hour hitting baskets, actually doing it. You bring the two halves together and they shoot the same percentage. Our mind is so powerful, isn't it, folks? And so our thought process creates a belief system. And here's the big challenge that I'm finding, not only for myself as the president of the Abbotsford Heat, because we get to work on it every day. Do you know what people say about us? We get to work on it every day. The big challenge is what do we allow to happen here? What do we allow? And really that statement, if I could take all of these self-help books, all the leadership books, all the important books in the world and bring it down to one thing, aren't you glad I came today? It's that statement. We become what we think about most of the time. That's it. Isn't that true? But here's the problem. We're going to talk about peak performance right now. We're going to talk about focus, right? Because I believe this, that we need to focus on two things. When my life's on, folks? When my life's on, I focus on two things. You know what I love about two? I had concussions. I can remember two. Two things. What we want and how to get it, and that's it. Do you know how much clutter is in our brain? Has anybody said this week? Don't answer. Has anybody thought this week? I have. I wonder if my board likes my work. I wonder if my boss likes me. How much of our brain goes to places that is just a bunch of baloney? What has that got with focusing on what I want and how to get it, and that's it? Jenny, you might think, well, that's just business. Jen and I have been 31 years married. She's my best friend. We're always looking at taking our marriage to the next level. We had a discussion on how could we have the best marriage ever, on what we want in marriage and how to get it, and that's it. The power of focus. Just reading a good book right now that says if you work on a computer throughout the day, then 37 times an hour you are interrupted by email, by programs, or by what's happening on that computer. 37 times an hour. Instead of focusing on what you want and how to get it, and that's it. There's a great note. I don't know if you knew this. Jenny and I wrote a coaching book also. And we interviewed Scotty Bowman. Scotty Bowman's maybe the best hockey coach ever. At the end of our interview, Scotty, he was like a giggly little kid. He said, Ryan, I want to tell you a story, but I don't want it in the book. He said, Ryan, you don't know this about me, but I've always wanted to score a PGA game. I love golf. And he said, the PGA, when they came near Detroit, they allowed me to score a day. And that day was with a foursome that included Tiger Woods. He said, Ryan, it was such a great day. He said, I'm inside the rope. I'm 25 feet away from Tiger for a full day. He said, at the end of the day, I went to the scorer's tent. I don't know a lot about golf, but apparently they have to meet and figure out make sure the scores are accurate. Tiger was in the tent. I'm just coming through. Scotty Bowman said, I'm just coming through the opening of the tent. Tiger and Scotty knew each other from banquets in the past. Tiger turns, he looks at Scotty and he says, Scotty, what are you doing here? Think about that. Scotty Bowman was 25 feet away from Tiger Woods for the full day and never saw him. Focused on two things, right, folks? What we want, how to get it, and that's it. Can I tell you? For me, that's what peak performers do. With all the stuff coming at us, I love cell phones. I'm the Gen Y wannabe stuck in a boomer body. I love the smartphones. I love all that. But you know, the more stuff we've got, the harder it is to focus. And peak performers always focus on what's important. And Dean, thank you for reminding me of that story. So you might say, well, Ryan, that's not right. I mean, the mind doesn't drive everything. Well, let me tell you about two tightrope walkers in the 70s. A guy by the name of Philip Petit, a guy by the name of Carl Wallenda. You know, Philip Petit, I didn't know this, but he walked across the Twin Towers in the 70s. And you know, the morning that Philip walked across the Twin Towers, I found an article in the paper that said that. Philip Petit said, it's impossible, sure. So let's start working on it. If you want something, nothing's impossible. You get a bit of a feel for his thinking? Now, Carl Wallenda, I don't know if you knew this, but Carl Wallenda fell to his death in Puerto Rico in the 70s, walking the tightrope. And I found an article that his wife, Mrs. Wallenda, talked about. And she talked about this after Carl fell, and she said this. All Carl thought about 3 months prior to it was falling. It was the first time he'd ever thought about it, and it seemed to me that he put all of his energies into not falling rather than walking the tightrope. I've read 4 great books on the brain recently. You know what I'm learning? The brain doesn't get don't. Oh, I don't want that performance. We spend our time thinking about what we don't want. You know what the brain does? It gives it to us, right? The power of our belief system driven by our thought process. And the reason I bring it up is that's going to be our next book. Jenny and I are writing a book right now. It'll take a year to get out. It's going to be called Mind Shift. I think that's where all my clients are at. I think that's where the world's at right now. How do we focus on the Pareto principle, the 20% that gives us the 80% return? And how do we keep our mind and shift onto that?